And we're at a pivotal moment in enterprise technology. Just a few years ago, digital transformation was the dominant narrative, modernizing legacy systems, automating workflows, and streamlining operations. But now a new paradigm is emerging, agentic transformation. According to Gartner, by 2028, 33% of enterprise software will include agentic AI capabilities, up from less than 1% in 2024. That means 15% of routine business decisions could be made autonomously without human intervention. In Asia Pacific, 70% of organizations expect agentic AI to disrupt their business models within the next 18 months. And here in Malaysia, the government is finalizing the National Artificial Intelligence Technology Action Plan, building on the 2021 until 2025 AI roadmap to ensure AI adoption is not only efficient but also ethical and equitable. Joining us this morning is David Iraqi, Chief Technology Officer for Asia Pacific and Japan APJ Bumi. I want to say thank you very much, David, for joining me. Firstly, let's begin with the big picture. What exactly is agentic transformation, and how is it reshaping the way enterprises think about automations, decision-making, and leadership?
So digital transformation was largely about improving efficiency. So at Bumi, we define agentic transformation as the next chapter in enterprise automation. So if you think about digital, it built the highways, but agentic AI is the self-driving fleet using them. And this is because these agents can reason, make decisions, act autonomously, and it's a shift from AI as a tool to a teammate. So these agentic AIs are adaptable and collaborative, but they require connectivity, clean data, and strong governance. And that's an area where Bumi excels in connecting, orchestrating, and managing these intelligent agents.
And as you mentioned, overall is to improve efficiency. And Gartner predicts a sharp rise in agentic AI adoption by 2028. In Asia Pacific, 70% of organizations expect disruption within 18 months. What's driving this urgency, especially in our region?
There's a wide variety of different use cases. So for Malaysia particularly, as you mentioned, you have a very strong national AI roadmap. And with the National AI Office, the timing's ideal. There's a lot of immediate potential in government services and healthcare and education. So for example, agents could help automate document reviews in the public sector, or they could potentially personalize learning in schools. But the key with any of these use cases is to start with well-scoped ideas that lower the risk to the business, but have a high return on investment.
And as Malaysia is finalizing the National AI Roadmap, from your perspective, David, how does this align with the broader agentic transformation trend?
It's an interesting question because if you look not just in Malaysia, but across the ASEAN and APAC region and globally, governments and businesses are approaching this topic in a wide variety of different ways. We have the EU AI Act as an example, which provides a very formal path and penalties should data sovereignty and other things not be met. Whereas for many other countries, it's more around frameworks. How do we get started with AI and, to your point, do it in a very responsible and ethical way that reduces risk to the business? And equally, it's not just about governments proposing some of these frameworks, but also higher education and businesses themselves are key actors in this discussion.
And as you mentioned, we're also looking at a very multiple dimension about this, we can say, approach from ASEAN, Asia, and even APAC. How can we find, and most of them is, how can we find a better and the best framework that is very suitable with this and in a very ethical way, and also reduce the risk of business? And how is agentic transformation fundamentally different from digital transformation, especially what new capabilities and challenges does it introduce?
Well, I think one of the big key things in this discussion is trust, and trust has to be earned and not assumed. And the trust comes from transparency, traceability, and control, particularly in data. So where digital transformation was more around automating some of those manual processes within your business, agentic transformation is more around further automating and having some of those processes be fully self-sufficient. But without data, you are going to have some problems. And so inaccurate and inaccessible data erodes that trust, and layering AI on top of it only amplifies the problem. So starting with your data, understanding what liquidity you have, what quality you have, provides you a good foundation to implement AI for your business and provide further efficiencies and automations in a lot of those digital transformation programs you've already completed.
And putting trust, building trust in agentic AI system to make decisions independently, what are some of the implications that we cannot see of this autonomy for business operation and leadership accountability?
Yeah, it's interesting because we have this topic of human in the loop as an example, because with a lot of these processes, you have things like model drift where the AI's answers shift over time because the data hasn't been updated or it hasn't been trained on new processes or new initiatives. And so it's not just a technological discussion, but it's also about a leadership discussion. And leadership's critical here because it's not just an IT initiative, it's also a very large strategic shift in Boomi. And as an example here at Boomi, we created a head of enterprise AI role, and they're meant to align innovation and governance within the business. And we're seeing that across APJ. We're seeing companies appoint AI officers or form councils because without oversight, agents risk biased or flawed decisions. And it's interesting, if I was talking to someone the other day and they liken these new leadership roles, especially that of a chief AI officer, to being the new chief HR officer for AI, because you wouldn't hire a human without vetting them. So why are we letting ungoverned AI agents run our workflows?
Definitely, it's not easy as we have to balance all the trust within the system, AI, technology, and especially when that system adapt poor or insufficient data. So in this context, agentic AI, what happens to agentic AI that acts on poor or biased data? How can organizations safeguard against this risk, considering that we have to make all of the IT department all aware of this risk, and then we have to maybe upgrade the system? So what are the possible scenarios that we are looking at?
Yeah, you've definitely outlined a few of them there. It's not just a technological shift, it's also a cultural shift in business. We have a term, shadow AI, which we're seeing become more prevalent in the industry today because lines of business, users like ourselves, bringing models and agentic AI systems off the shelf into our daily work. IT may not be across those, so it's getting the skill set and the knowledge across your employee base to understand what they should be doing with AI and how they should be using it. But equally on the IT and the technology side, it's putting in those governance capabilities, so being able to provide explainability and observability to those models that you're using within your organization, and equally in that layer down, having a look at how you've connected your systems together, what the quality of that data is, and how you're sharing that data. And typically that's done via APIs, and APIs are that means for AI agents to securely share information between each other and connect back into your business.
And definitely everyone, the person who is responsible to overview all of this decision-making anonymously or known, we're seeing also new executive roles like Chief AI Officer emerge. What does this tell us about the shift, and what kind of organizational culture and skill sets are needed to support agentic transformation? How do leaders prepare their teams?
Yeah, definitely. As we talked about, those visionary leaders are treating this shift as a strategic overhaul, not just a tech refresh. So those leaders are driving that oversight, ensuring that they don't make biased decisions or flawed decisions. But equally, to your point, across the organization, we have to look at that skills gap. And we have to understand, how do we get our workforce enabled to use AI as part of their day-to-day job? Because it is about AI being that teammate, making you a lot more efficient in your day-to-day role to enable you to work on higher value tasks for the business. And that may come through initiatives within the business themselves. That may come through higher education, providing courses, or even through government initiatives to skill up the workforce at a national level.
And David, maybe we can check moving forward, especially for the business. How can they ensure that agentic AI systems remain explainable and auditable, especially at a scale with the framework that is done or being executed by the government? Is it enough?
Yeah, I think that's where, when you have those multi-agent ecosystems, you have to have guardrails across those workflows, not just single models. Because if you think of use cases such as the patient journey in healthcare, Agentic AI will be embedded at different parts to improve that patient experience as they enter the hospital, or the doctors, understand what's happened with their x-rays, as an example, their CT scans, to what medication may be assigned to them. So having agent behavior that's auditable, it's contextual and correctable is going to be key, especially in industries like healthcare. If we're talking about retail and, I'm accidentally suggested or sent the wrong piece of clothing, that isn't as big of a risk to the business.
And as we know, as many are transitioning to transformation of agentic AI, we hope that all businesses in every category can stay compliant with regulations and ethical standards. And again, I want to say thank you very much to our guest, David Araki, Chief Technology Officer for Asia Pacific and Japan APJ, for helping us understand how can the agentic AI and the future of enterprise decision. And again, definitely all of our discussion here will be featured in astroni.com and across all social media platform.